Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about, give you the reasons, 5 reasons why I chose a Harvey table saw over Sawstop and the competition. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through and show you all the different table saws that I looked at, and that way you can factor in that information and then make a decision for yourself if this type of table saw is right for you or not. Before we get started though, I just wanted to say that there was a video that I posted about a couple weeks ago, and it was basically in regards to Shopsmith, and it was a response to a video that was put out by John Malecki about that time frame. And there was just a few things that in his particular video that he was talking about the Shopsmith in terms of it being an unsafe tool. And there was just a few things when I watched that video that I just felt that I needed to express. There was just a few things I disagreed with him. I just will say that I have nothing against John Malecki or any of his videos. I still subscribe to his channel and I enjoy watching a lot of his content. I just happen to, there's just a few things that I just felt there's a few things that I disagreed with him on in terms of the Shopsmith, in terms of its safety and stuff of that nature. But anyway, before we get started in today's subject, there's just a few questions that I want to address real quickly. There was a video that I put out about 4 months ago, which was how to set up your new Harvey table saw, and I will include a link in the description below if you want to check out that video on how to set the table saw up. I try to do the best I could in terms of taking you step by step on how to set the saw up and get it calibrated and things of that sort. Anyway, when I posted that video, it seems to be getting views every day, and I've gotten quite a few comments, and there's also been a couple questions that people have asked me, so I just want to take a few minutes to address those first. The first question I'm getting asked a lot is in regards to delivery. There have been some people that have asked me questions, does Harvey do this or that? And the best answer I could give you is that when you buy the saw, Harvey goes through a third-party freight company. When they deliver the saw to my house, they basically notify me in advance. We set up a time, and then we agreed on that time, and then they came and delivered it. Technically, they usually what they're obligated to do is just drop it off at the entranceway to your house, or be like a roadside delivery. And for your particular situation, you'll have to probably talk to the truck driver or talk to them if they can work around any issues that you might be having. The day that my saw got delivered, it was raining, so I talked to the gentleman, and he was nice enough, because my garage is literally maybe 15-20 feet from the road, and so we basically carted the table saw into the garage, and so he was nice enough to do that. So all I can say is that you just have to talk to the freight company that delivers it, and if you have any issues, then contact Harvey and address your concerns with them. The second question I'm getting asked a lot is in the video, in the setup video, is that I noticed people have noticed that there's a separate rip scale. I have 2 rip scales, and what had happened is that when I was installing the rip scale on that first video, there was a small mistake in the instructions where they had the sight gauges reversed, and I found that out later on when I was getting ready to line it up. I'd already put the rip scale down, and I found out that there was a mistake there. And so what I did is I contacted Harvey, I think the next day, and told them about it, and they said, yeah, we're well aware of it, and there was a misprint in the directions or the instruction book, and they're working on correcting it. and so they immediately sent me a new rip scale. They expedited the shipment to me, so that's the reason why I have 2 rip scales in that particular video. I did a separate video on how to set up the rip scale, which I'll also include a link in the description below if you want to check that out. And then the last question I've gotten asked is, how do I like the saw so far? And I personally love this table saw. I've had no problems with it. I love it. I have not used it as much as I would like to use it, and that's mostly because the 230 outlet that I have to power the saw is behind my workbench here, so I have to kind of maneuver my workbench, so to speak, and I have not done it yet because it's so heavy in order to plug in the 230 outlet. So love the saw. In fact, that's what I'm going to be talking about at the end of this video, is give you my 5 reasons why I think this is such a good purchase. All right. Okay, what I want to do now is give you a background, or go over what I did to arrive at this point. And before I purchased this particular table saw, there was a bunch of table saws from other manufacturers, including Sawstop, that I looked at, and I did a lot of research. I basically went online. I tried to find. I read reviews. I read the specifications. I compared prices. There's a bunch of different features that I looked at, and it kind of narrowed down to 5 of those that 5 features that I found on the Harvey that were outstanding, that made me decide to go with that particular table saw over the other competition. So what I've done here is I've basically just kind of wrote these down, and I'm going to lay these out for you. I figured this would be easier than trying to do it, make a computer printout. Okay, I'm going to bring the camera over a little bit here. Okay, there was about, let's see here, 1, 2, there was 7 table saws in all that I looked at, and I really looked at them thoroughly, and I went back and forth, and there were some manufacturers that I really went back and forth because there were some features that I liked, and it was kind of a tough decision, and so I took my time in making my decision. So anyway, let's go right down the list. Okay, the first table saw that I looked at was the Grizzly. The model number is the G1023RL. It has a 3 horsepower motor, runs on 230 volts. It's a single phase. That particular saw, which has a 32-inch rip capacity. The table depth is 27 inches. And the price, the best price that I found for this saw was through Home Depot online. It is $2,434. And if you are active duty military, or you're prior military such as myself, you can get the 10% discount. So I found that they had the best price even over the manufacturer's website, or the Grizzly itself, because one, if you purchase through Home Depot, not only do you get a 10% discount, but they also offer free shipping. So this was the first table saw that I liked. I liked the price on it. There was a lot of features that has a good quality blade guard. Grizzly is a well-known manufacturer. The table saw got good reviews. And it seemed a lot of people have always said that Grizzly is well built and they have good customer service. So I really like this one, and I kept this one in at the top of my list and came back to it off and on. Okay, the next table saw that I looked at was the Jet Exacta saw. That model number is JTAS10XL301DX. It has a 3 horsepower motor, runs on 230 volts, single phase. It has a 30-inch rip capacity. The table depth, that's from front to back, by the way, I forgot to mention that, is 29 inches. The price for this one, if you go to Amazon, and roughly is about $3,399. So that was the second table saw that I looked at. Okay, next one that I strongly considered and I really liked was the Delta Unisaw. The model number for that one is 36-L552D. It has a 5 horsepower motor, single phase. It has a 52-inch rip capacity. The table depth from front to back is 31 inches. Price on that one is $3,620.40. I will need to let you know that the prices on this saw have changed. This was the price that was on Home Depot. And like I said, with the Grizzly, I just found that they had the best prices on this particular table saw. They also have a 3 horsepower motor, and it fluctuates. A lot of times that they have them in stock and they didn't have them in stock. And in this particular model, what attracted me to this one was that it comes with a dust collector. It comes with a 1 horsepower Delta dust collector for that price. And so that one I was really interested in just because it has a dust collector. And Delta is a very well-known manufacturer in table saws. They've been around for a very long time. And that particular saw, it had there were some features on it that stood out. It has both the depth adjustment and the angle adjustment at the front of the saw. It has an ability where you push a button and it will drop the riving knife. It has a very great fence, the Basemire fence, and it's supposed to have good dust collection. So anyway, this was the third table saw that I looked at. Okay, the next one, fourth in line, is the Powermatic, and the one that I was strongly considering was the one that was their 100th anniversary edition. The model number for this one is the PM1000. It has a 1 3/4 horsepower motor. It's single phase. It has a 30-inch rip capacity. The table depth, as far as I can tell, is 27 inches. That's from front to back. And the price on this saw varied. Right now, it's through Home Depot. It's $2,699.99. About a year ago, when I was really heavily into researching this particular subject, the price varied. It would stay around $2,900.99. And it kind of fluctuated back and forth. I mean, Amazon had a good price for a while there because they were trying to clean out their inventory, so the price dropped, and then it went back up. So the price on this kind of fluctuated. So this was the fourth table saw that I looked at. Okay, next one is the Laguna F3 Fusion. The model number on that is MTSF 336-2203-10130. Has a 3 horsepower motor. It's 230 volts, single phase. If you go to Laguna, they say that the rip capacity is 37 inches, but if you go to Rockler, their specifications are saying that's a 36-inch rip capacity. The table depth is 27 inches from front to back, and the price overall, either at Rockler or through Laguna, is $2,599. There was a few things that was included in that table saw that made me interested in. One is that you do get you have like a little bit of an outfeed table. It does have the European style rip fence, and then it also, with the miter gauge, it has a kind of like a piece of extruded aluminum to it, rather than just a plain Jane miter gauge, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. Okay, the next saw that I looked at, that I strongly considered, was the Sawstop contractor saw, and that model number is CNS 175-5FA30. It has a 1 3/4 horsepower motor. It has a 36-inch rip capacity with the beige miter fence. Now, if you go to Sawstop, they have a different configurations. You have a plain contractor saw, but what I was mostly interested in was I was wanting an upgraded fence. They have a standard fence, then they have a middle grade fence, and then they have the beige miter fence, which has those pieces on the side of it. I guess they're anti-friction pieces, so to speak. That was the fence that I really wanted. So that's a 36-inch with the beige miter fence. The table depth from front to back is 27 inches. The price on this varies because you can build it and customize it to your liking. The base price on that was $2,229. That's the base price. That's no bells and whistles. The one that I looked at that had the features that I wanted, the price on that one was $3,320. That included the cast iron wings and the overarm dust collection with the improved blade guard that has the dust collection capability. So that was the saw that I was mostly going after, was in that one. Okay, last on the list, the last table saw that I looked at is the Sawstop PCS. That stands for Professional Cabinet Series, or I believe. Model number is PC S31230T GP236. Has a 3 horsepower motor, 230 volts, single phase. Has a 36-inch rip capacity. Table depth is 27 inches front to back. The base price on this one, once again, because the saw is customizable, the base price is $2,849. That comes with just a 1 3/4 horsepower motor, and then from there, if you just stay with the 1 3/4 horsepower motor, you decide to upgrade to the better fence and the dust collection, the price is going to change. The one that I looked at that had the features that I was looking at, the price on that one was $4,196. Mind you, on all these saws, on some of them, that does not include taxes and shipping fees. And so this price here does not include the taxes and the shipping fee. Anyway, this setup was a 3 horsepower motor, and it had the overarm dust collection with the blade guard. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through each one of these and go through a process of elimination and why I chose to omit them for my decision. Okay, so going back to the very first one, the Grizzly. This particular saw I really liked, and I basically just kept this in the back of my mind. So I had not ruled this particular table saw out completely. And I went back to it over and over again, and there's a bunch of videos that I watched on people setting it up, and a lot of people had a lot of good things to say about this particular saw. In fact, on Home Depot, it got very good reviews. I think it was averaging 4.6 out of 5 stars. I like the fact that it had a 3 horsepower motor. It has a pretty good fence, and it has a very good blade guard. And plus two, Grizzly is a very good is a good manufacturer. Has good customer support. So this particular saw I had not ruled out yet because there was a lot of things that I liked about it. So I kept this in the back of my mind. All right, the Jet. Going back to the Jet. I decided, first of all, I forgot to mention too at the beginning of the video that I had a budget, and I probably should have mentioned this first, is that my budget for this purchase was right around $3,000. That was the most I had available to me. And I could probably go a little bit more above that, maybe like $100 or $200 or so above that. And so this first of all, the reason why I decided against this particular table saw is that when you look at the reviews on it, there wasn't too many, but when you go to Amazon, this particular saw here averaged about a 4 to a 4.1 out of 5 stars. And there's a lot of people that had reviewed this and said that there was issues with quality control. There were some issues that people said that when you purchased a saw, you had to go out and get an additional power cord to get power to it. And plus two is outside of my my budget. The reason I came back to this one, my camera stopped unexpectedly, is that Jet makes good quality tools, and there was actually one that was available on eBay, brand new, and I had gone back and forth with the company, and what they were is they were clearing out their inventory, and I decided to not go with that one because I was concerned that when I looked at the pictures, it looked like it was all there, but I was concerned that I was going to get the table saw delivered to my house, and then there's going to be parts and pieces missing and stuff like that. And it was kind of like an as-is purchase. So being that there were some reviews on this one did not fare too well, and it was outside my price, I decided to not go with this one. So okay, coming back to the Delta. There was a lot of things about the Delta Unisaw that I liked. Mostly the things that I liked about it was the table depth. You have a little bit extra support versus a standard table saw, which is 27 inches. You get 4 inches of additional in-feed and out-feed support there. I ultimately decided against this one because, one, it was outside my price range, and there was a few I think the 3 horsepower motor, there was some specials going on where it was within my budget, but they were out of stock. And two, through either Home Depot or Lowe's, they did not have delivery available to me, and they did not have in-store pickup. So the price and the fact that of availability, I decided to go ahead and not go with this particular manufacturer. Okay. All right, Powermatic. This is also a very good quality manufacturer. This particular saw, though, I think the reviews were a little bit less than on the Grizzly here. And two, I decided the price on this was in my budget, but it only comes with a 1 3/4 horsepower motor, and the fact that I didn't get as good of reviews as the Grizzly, and you just didn't get as much horsepower. You only get 1 3/4 horsepower versus the other competition. You get a 3 horsepower motor. I decided to not go with this one. Okay, the Laguna. This is also this company is kind of like a new company, and they're up and coming. But this particular table saw had some features. Like I said, with this model, you have a kind of like a small outfeed table. You have the European style rip fence, and the miter gauge on it is a little bit more beefed up than the standard miter gauges you get with the other brands. The reason why I decided against this one is that when I watched a lot of videos on YouTube and online, it kind of mixed reviews. It got pretty good reviews, but then there was people that have issues with customer support, and they would have an issue, and it would take months to hear back from the company to correct a problem. And so I felt strongly that I just didn't want to have to, if I had a problem, I didn't want to have to deal with that fiasco. So I ultimately decided against this particular manufacturer. Okay, going to the Sawstop. The thing that I really, when I set out to buy a new table saw, I really had my heart set on getting a Sawstop. Let me zoom out a little bit here. And I like them because one, every video I've seen, they've always had a good reputation for good build quality. You got that safety feature in there. And I really wanted one. I felt like there was a good table saw manufacturer and stuff like that, and it'd be something that I would purchase and I wouldn't have issues down the road with something that expensive. I eventually decided against this one because one, it's only got a 1 3/4 horsepower motor. The motor mounts on the back, and there's people that have said it does have a little bit more vibration than normal. And then by the time you build it to get like the features that I wanted, like the cast iron wings and the dust collection, I mostly wanted the overarm dust collection. I probably could have gone with the steel wings instead of the cast iron wings. It was just outside my price range. This price does not include taxes and shipping, by the way. And it was just outside my budget. So I eventually had to decide against this one. Plus two, I felt like, you're paying a lot of money for just a contractor saw. I felt like I wouldn't be satisfied and content with that kind of, put down that kind of money. So I eventually decided against this one. Okay. And then, okay, the last is the Sawstop PCS. This was another table saw that I really liked, just because everyone's got one. It's good build quality. But once again, when I priced this out, I was trying to stay within my budget. I wanted a 3 horsepower motor. Yeah, I probably could have gone with a 1 3/4 horsepower motor and got those features. But even still, if I took away the 3 horsepower motor option, which is a $500 additional fee, it was still outside my budget and my price range. And so I eventually had to decide against this one. And which brings us back to the Grizzly. One thing I need to let you know is that I also, being that I still wanted to go through Sawstop, I also looked at used table saws, and I spent quite a bit of time going through Facebook Marketplace and eBay for a used Sawstop, and I just did not have any luck in that area. There was one table saw that was close to me. The gentleman was selling it. It was actually an industrial cabinet saw. It was a little bit more outside my budget, but when I looked at the pictures of it, it had been really used heavily, and there was things on it. There was a lot of rust. The fence was just, it looked like it had been dinged up and cut and scraped, and I just didn't want to buy that saw and then inherit somebody else's headache. So I had to eventually rule out a used Sawstop. So which brings us back to the Grizzly, and I kept coming back to this particular manufacturer just because it was in my price range, and my camera keeps cutting out on me. Anyway, the Grizzly had a lot of features about it that I really liked. And even though it did not have, when you compare it to the Harvey, it doesn't have that table depth, it does have a good blade guard, it does have a good fence, and you're going to get good customer support from Grizzly. But I decided against this one ultimately because in some of the videos on YouTube there was issues with the dust collection, and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. Is that the opening port where you tilt the blade and also raise the blade height, it's open, and so a lot of people said that there's just issues with dust collection, and I felt that, man, I just didn't want to. I wanted something that had good dust collection, and plus two, the fact that the miter gauge on that saw is pretty standard plain Jane. and that's going to be more money that I was going to have to spend to get a good miter gauge, or I had to put on an additional fence. And so I just decided that it really wasn't worth it. So I decided ultimately against the Grizzly. Okay, so once I went through those decisions and I ruled those out, there was a video that I came upon by Matthew Peach on his channel, and he had purchased one of these Harvey Table saws. His model is a little bit, his is a 52-inch rip capacity, and I think he opted for the gold table. I'm not sure, but he was just talking about how good the Harvey was, and there was a lot of things that he just raved about, you know, the various features and stuff like that. And two, he also had a recommendation to a video by Stumpy Nubs, and I went and watched that video, and then I'll have a link in the description to both of those videos if you're interested. And when you're watching the video by Stumpy Nubs, he basically just gave that table saw high remarks. Everything about it, he said it was just very quality built. You get a lot of outstanding features for that table saw, and don't get me wrong, it's not a super cheap saw. It's expensive, but that particular saw, the reason I went with it is because it worked within my budget. It had a lot of the features that I wanted. It had a good dust collection. It came with a good fence. It came with a good miter gauge. It was well built. It had the table depth that I was looking at. So anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go through the 5 various outstanding features for that table saw. And you know, once again, I'm just presenting this information, and if you may feel differently, you may, you know, this may be something that this purchase may be for you, it may not be for you, but I just kind of want to take you through how I arrived at this particular conclusion. Okay, the first outstanding feature on this table saw that I think makes it better than the competition is the fence. The fence on this particular table saw is just absolutely awesome. Love it. It is a very robust, very heavy, very solid fence. The thing that I like about it is it has this what's a European style high-low feature. If I loosen these 2 knobs here, I can pull this extrusion out and then flip it and use it if I want to cut thin sheet goods, or cut something that's like rip something that's very small, and it actually keeps it from the blades, or not pinching, the workpiece is not pinching against the blade. When I set this fence up, if you go back to that first video, I had to do very little adjustment to this fence, and so I think this is probably one of the best selling features for this table saw. Okay, the second reason, number 2, is the miter gauge. Every table saw that I looked at, you got a plain Jane miter gauge. I think only Laguna and also the Powermatic, you had a little bit of improvement to the miter gauge. You got a standard miter gauge, and what they did is they put like a piece of aluminum or something type of extruded or an auxiliary fence to that gives you a little bit more surface area. But other than that, every table saw has a plain Jane miter gauge. Matt, when you're watching his, if you go over to his channel, which is 731 Woodworks, he was talking about Incra miter gauges, and one of the things he happened to know was that the miter gauge that comes with the Sawstop, he referred to it as hot garbage. It was just really not that great. It had issues about slopping it and stuff like that, and so he ended up having to go back and purchase another miter gauge for his table saw. But with this particular miter gauge, you're getting a good quality miter gauge. It has a 36-inch rip capacity. I'm going to move the camera over here. Plus, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit too. Zoom in a little bit too much there. Okay, you have you loosen this knob here, and it gives you extra support for whatever you're doing a cross cut on. The other neat thing about this fence that makes it so outstanding is that you have a fine-tune stop here that allows for fine-tuning. So in other words, if I really want to dial it in for that particular cross cut, you could do it here. Then on this miter gauge, you also have automatically preset stops. So you have 0. And let me loosen this. For some reason my camera keeps stopping on me. But anyway, you have presets here at 45 degrees and at 90 degrees. And this was one thing that Stumpy Nubs in his video, and actually several videos, he just talked a bunch about how great this miter gauge is and that he enjoyed using it. And I would have to agree with him, or concur with him on that. I enjoy using it. It's very solid. When I went to set this up and make sure that it was square to the blade, it was dead on. I didn't have to do anything to it. So I think this is probably the second outstanding feature for this table saw is the miter gauge. Okay, the third outstanding feature for this table saw is the table depth. And this is something that I mentioned beforehand with the other manufacturers. Usually you got through Grizzly, Sawstop, Laguna, Power Mac, you got a standard, the table depth from front to back was 27 inches. But on this Harvey, you get 31.5 inches. So you get an additional 4.5 inches of support, in-feed and out-feed support. And that was a thing that I really liked about this table saw versus the competition. I think only Jet and Delta they gave you a little bit more surface area or a little bit more real estate on top of the table saw. Okay, the fourth outstanding feature on this table saw is the blade guard and the overarm dust collection system. That was another thing that I really liked about this particular table saw over the competition, other than Sawstop. I think Sawstop had a really good blade guard system. They have something that's patented where it's supposed to optimize dust collection. So optimize dust collection. But the thing about the Harvey is this type of blade guard system, it too is also designed to maximize dust collection, and it's a very good quality blade guard. I'm going to move the camera here. So you can see this. And also, in addition to the blade guard, the other thing that they did to maximize dust collection that Grizzly and some of the other other competitors did not do is they actually put this kind of like a felt material or some type of a brush material, and what that does is it basically optimizes the suction capabilities of the dust collector. On the Grizzly, this part was completely open, and a lot of people, what they were doing is they were having to go back and make something or retrofit something to cover this up in order to improve the dust collection system. So I just think that seeing that and seeing it in action, and also me using it, I think it does a really fantastic job of collecting dust. Now there's some people that have said that when you get small slivers and stuff like that, it does have a tendency to clog up the upper port, so to speak. And that's going to be with probably every table saw. You're going to have to deal with those small pieces and stuff like that. But overall, I'm just very pleased with the dust collection on the table saw. So I definitely think that's an outstanding feature on it. Okay, the fifth outstanding feature on this table saw that I think makes it stand apart from the competition is the build quality on it. When I did the unboxing on this table saw and set it up, I was very impressed with the overall build quality on it. The fence and the blade was pretty much dead on out of the box. It didn't require any adjustment. The fist needed a little bit of adjustment to it, so to speak. The miter gauge did not require any adjustment to verify that it was 90 degrees to the blade. But the quality of it I was very impressed with it. It is a very heavy saw. One person has asked me what do they recommend, or do I have any recommendations to how to get the saw off the pallet. And my first inclination, or the best advice I could tell you, is to use kind of like an engine hoist because it was so heavy. I would not recommend using extra manpower or extra muscle to get it off of the pallet, just because it was that heavy. But one thing I wanted to show you, and I'm going to move the camera here. Another thing I wanted to show you is in regards to the build quality, is just how smooth this saw operates. Everything about this is just very well made. When you go to raise and lower the blade, what Harvey did is they patented a trunnion system, kind of like a dovetail system, so to speak, that makes it a little bit different from the competition in terms of how solid the trunnion is and how it moves up and down. But when I go to raise this, I don't feel any resistance. It's very smooth. It doesn't feel like it's hard to push or heavy to push. And that's the same thing when it comes to the tilt adjustment. Sawstop on their saw, the industrial series, what they did with the 5 horsepower motor is they incorporated like a piston or hydraulic actuator to help raise and lower the blade to make it a very smooth operation. And this motor is not as big as a 5 horsepower, but it is bigger than the 3 horsepower motor. And the point I just want to explain to you is that it's just a very smooth operation for such a large motor. So the build quality on this saw, I think, really makes it stand apart from the competition. Alright guys, so just one final note before I wrap things up here. Like I said, those were the 5 reasons why I chose the Harvey over Sawstop and the other different manufacturers. Those 5 reasons that I just talked about is what persuaded me to go in that direction with that particular manufacturer. I just think that they are, with the tools that they're putting out, the woodworking tools, that they really are being innovative, and they're starting to have a leg up on the competition and things of that sort. And I do think that if you use good safety practices and use the blade guard and use your push sticks and feather boards, you'll get years of use out of one of these table saws without having any accidents. One thing I noticed is that when people, even when they have a Sawstop, that they do not use the blade guard, and I just think that's setting you up for problems later on down the road, because it can lead to complacency. And anytime I'm using the table saw, or even the table saw function on the shopsmith, I always use the blade guard. When I'm doing a rip cut. If I have to do a different type of a cut, then I'm going to work out or figure out some type of a work holding or jig that I can keep my hands away from that blade. In fact, I've gotten so to the point now where if I don't use the blade guard on the table saw or on the shopsmith, then I don't know, I just feel like I'm not using the tool correctly. So I like keeping that as a good habit and a good safety practice. But anyway, before I close out, just want to give you a reminder to be sure to check out the video that I did where I restored both of these AutoSet hand planes. I was very pleased how they turned out. It was a very long, lengthy process. I'm probably going to do a video talking about these and explaining what makes them so different from a normal bench plane. But anyway, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you would please, and also hit the notifications icon. I've got 2 videos going to be coming out here pretty soon, hopefully. One is restoration of a very rare hand tool. I'm very excited to put that out there on YouTube, and you're not going to want to miss it, and I think that you'll enjoy it. So be sure to hit that notifications icon. Two, also be sure to leave a comment below in the comment section and to let me know what your thoughts are on Harvey or on some of the other different table saw manufacturers. I appreciate any feedback or comments or suggestions and stuff like that. And so anyway, so that wraps up for this video, and I will catch you later.